Roald Dahl, a biography by Alexander Robinson. Early childhood. Roald Dahl was born in Cardiff, Wales in 1916 to Norwegian parents Harold and Sophie Dahl. Roald's father had moved from Norway and settled in Cardiff in the 1880s. His mother came over to marry him in 1911. Dahl was named after the polar explorer Roald Amundsen, a national hero in Norway at the time. He spoke Norwegian at home with his parents and sisters, Astrid, Alfhild and Else. In 1920, when Roald was 3 years old, his 7-year-old sister, Astrid, died. Weeks later, his father died of pneumonia at the age of 57, whilst on a fishing trip in the Antarctic. With the option of returning to Norway to live with relatives, Roald's mother decided to remain in Wales because her husband Harold had wished to have their children educated in British schools, which he considered the world's best. Roald first attended the cathedral school in Llanllwch at the age of 8. He and 4 of his friends were caned by the headmaster after putting a dead mouse in a jar of gobstoppers at the local sweet shop, which was owned by a mean and loathsome old woman called Mrs. Pratchett. This was known amongst the 5 boys as the Great Mouse Plot of 1924. After this, he was transferred to a boarding school in England, St. Peter's in Weston-super-Mare. Roald's parents had wanted him to be educated at an English public school, and, at the time, because of a then regular link across the Bristol Channel, this proved to be the nearest. His time at St. Peter's was an unpleasant experience for him. He was very homesick and wrote to his mother every week, but never revealed to her his unhappiness, being under the pressure of the school censorship. Only after her death in 1967 did he find out that she had saved every single one of his letters in small bundles held together with green tape. Dahl wrote about his time at St. Peter's in his autobiography Boy, Tales of Childhood. From 1929 he went to Repton School in Derbyshire, where, according to his book, a friend named Michael was viciously caned by the headmaster, Geoffrey Fisher, the man who later became the Archbishop of Canterbury and crowned the Queen in 1953. He excelled at sports, being made the captain of the school fives and squash teams, and also played for the football team. During his years at Repton, Cadbury, the chocolate company, would occasionally send boxes of new chocolates to the school to be tested by the pupils. Roald apparently used to dream of inventing a new chocolate bar that would win the praise of Mr. Cadbury himself, and this was what inspired him to write his 3rd book for children, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it also includes references to chocolate in other books for children. Throughout his childhood, Roald spent his summer holidays with his mother's family in Norway. The main child character in his 1983 book, The Witches, is a British boy of Norwegian descent whose grandmother is still living in Norway. After finishing his schooling, he spent 3 weeks hiking through Newfoundland with the Public Schools Exploring Society. In July 1934, Roald joined the Shell Petroleum Company. Following 2 years of training in the United Kingdom, he was transferred to Tanganyika, now Tanzania. Along with the only other 2 Shell employees in the entire territory, he lived in luxury in the Shell house outside Dar es Salaam, with a cook and personal servants. While out on assignment supplying oil to customers across Tanzania, he encountered black mambas and lions amongst other wildlife. The RAF! In November 1939, Dahl joined the Royal Air Force as an aircraftsman. After a 600-mile car journey from Dar es Salaam to Nairobi, he was accepted for flight training with 16 other men, and was one of only 3 who survived the war. With 7 hours and 40 minutes experience in a de Havilland Tiger Moth, he flew solo. Dahl enjoyed watching the wildlife of Kenya during his flights. He continued to advance flying training in Iraq at RAF Haballah. He was promoted to leading aircraftsman on the 24th of August 1940. On the 19th of September 1940, Roald was ordered to fly his plane from Abu Sir in Egypt onto Amaraya to refuel, and again to Falca in Libya for a second refueling. From there, he would fly to an airstrip 30 miles south of Mersa Matruh. On the final leg, he could not find the airstrip, and, running low on fuel, and with night approaching, he was forced to attempt a landing in the desert. The undercarriage hit a boulder, and the aircraft crashed, fracturing his skull, smashing his nose, and temporarily blinding him. He managed to drag himself away from the blazing wreckage and passed out. Later, he wrote about the crash for his first published work. Dahl was rescued and taken to a first aid post in Mersa Matruh, where he regained consciousness, but not his sight, and was then taken by train to the Royal Navy Hospital in Alexandria. There he fell in and out of love with a nurse, Mary Welland. An RAF inquiry into the crash revealed that the location to which he had been told to fly was completely wrong, and he had mistakenly been sent instead to the no man's land between the Allied and Italian forces. In February 1941, Dahl was discharged from hospital and passed fully fit for flying duties. On the 20th of April 1941, Dahl took part in the Battle of Athens alongside his friend David Koch. Of the 12 planes involved, 5 were shot down and 4 of the pilots killed. Greek observers on the ground counted 22 German aircraft downed, but because of the confusion of the aerial engagement, none of the pilots knew which plane they had shot down. Roald began writing in 1942 after he was transferred to Washington, D.C. His first published work, in the 1st of August 1942 issue of the Saturday Evening Post, was Shot Down Over Libya, which described the crash of his plane. C.S. Forrester had asked Roald to write down some RAF anecdotes so that he could shape them into a story. After Forrester read what Dahl had given him, he decided to publish the story exactly as Dahl had written it. The original title of the article was A Piece of Cake, but the title was changed to sound more dramatic, despite the fact that he was not actually shot down. During the war, Dahl supplied intelligence from Washington to Stevenson and his organisation, known as British Security Coordination, which was part of MI6. Upon the war's conclusion, Dahl held the rank of a temporary wing commander, owing to his accident in 1940 having left him with excruciating headaches whilst flying. In August 1946, he was an invalid out of the RAF. Life after the war. Roald married American actress Patricia Neal on the 2nd of July 1953 at Trinity Church in New York City. Their marriage lasted for 30 years and they had 5 children: Olivia, Tessa, Theo, Apelia and Lucy. On the 5th of December 1960, 4-month-old Theo Dahl was severely injured when his baby carriage was struck by a taxicab in New York City. For a time, he suffered from hydrocephalus, an increase of fluid around the brain, and as a result his father became involved in the development of what became known as the Wade-Daltil, or WDT, valve, a device to improve the condition. In November 1962, Olivia Dahl died of measles at age 7. Dahl subsequently became a supporter of the vaccination and dedicated his 1982 book, The BFG, to his daughter. In 1965, wife Patricia Neal suffered 3 burst cerebral aneurysms, a weakness in the wall of an arterial vein which causes a ballooning of the blood vessel. While pregnant with their 5th child, Lucy, Dahl took control of her rehab, and she eventually relearned to talk and walk, and even returned to her acting career. Following a divorce from Patricia in 1983, Dahl married Felicity Lissy Crossland the same year at Brixton Town Hall, South London. Dahl and Felicity had previously been in a relationship. Roald is the father of the author Tessa Dahl and grandfather of author, cookbook writer and former model Sophie Dahl, after whom Sophie in the BFG is named. Death. Roald died on the 23rd of November 1990 at the age of 74 of a blood disease in Oxford, and was buried in the cemetery of St Peter and St Paul's Church in Great Missenden, Buckinghamshire, England. According to his granddaughter, the family gave him a sort of Viking funeral. He was buried with his snooker cues, some very good Burgundy chocolates, HB pencils, and a power saw. In his honour, the Roald Dahl Children's Gallery was opened in November 1996 at the Buckinghamshire County Museum in nearby Anglesbury. Regarded as one of the greatest storytellers for children of the 20th century, Dahl was listed as one of the greatest British writers since 1945. He ranks amongst the world's best-selling fiction authors with sales estimated at over 100 million, and his books have been published in almost 50 languages. In 2003, the UK survey entitled The Big Read, carried out by the BBC in order to find the nation's best-loved novel of all time, 4 of Roald's books were named in the top 100, with only works by Charles Dickens and Terry Pratchett featuring more. The anniversary of Dahl's birthday on the 13th of September is celebrated as Roald Dahl Day in Africa, the United Kingdom and Latin America. Thank you for watching an Alex Robinson biography. You can't beat an Alex Robinson biography. Acknowledgements to Wikipedia.